Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Friday, June the 5th, 2015. Something going on in the Eastern Pacific that people need to be aware of if they're not already, and hopefully you are since you have these wonderful apps at your disposal. That is Hurricane Blanca, now trying to strengthen again after losing some intensity. It was a Category 5, but what it did, it sat over this area here for almost a day and basically churned up the water underneath itself and self-destructed. It literally upwelled or mixed in cold water, and I'm talking like several degrees colder than the surface of the Pacific there, which is in the low 80s, and it self-destructed. It eliminated its heat source from underneath itself, but now it's starting to move again, and it's moving over warm water, and as I'll show you here on the satellite picture, it's beginning to reorganize. You have very deep convection trying to wrap right around that center of circulation, the eye, and because it's moving over warmer water again at a steady pace, it may be very efficient. I mean, look at this nice band coming in here, the signature of a well-organized hurricane, that inner core becoming more organized again. So this could become a Category 3, maybe a 4, but it looks like it will weaken once it gets close to the Baja up here, which is good news intensity-wise. But as we look at the forecast track, even though it looks like it'll spare Cabo San Lucas a direct hit, you can just sort of draw sort of like a cross-section in here. Think of this as a pie, and this right front quadrant of that pie, right there, is where the worst of the weather would be. So the Baja Peninsula is going to be on the right-hand side of this track, and so that would mean that a lot of the wind funneling right up the Gulf of California, pushing wave action up in here, very rough surf, heavy rain. So even though this isn't going to come inland over the Baja as a powerful hurricane like Odile was last year, there are still substantial effects that people need to be prepared for. One of those is the moisture, one of those effects, and that's going to be streaming up into parts of the desert southwest. Not a lot of it, because this is not later in the season where we have a lot more abundant moisture available overall, but enough that there could be some torrential rainfall, a few scattered tropical type thunderstorms with that enhanced what we call QPF, or in this case just the precipitable water in the atmosphere. The QPF is actually the forecast for that quantitative precipitation, just a fancy way of saying that the atmosphere is going to have a lot more moisture put into it than we're used to seeing. That being said, I don't want to be too much of an alarmist here. It won't reach the levels, at least that's not what it looks like now, that we saw last year during Norbert and Odile, which brought a lot of flooding rain to this region right here over about a 2 to 3 week period. Nevertheless, this is something to keep an eye on with the snow melting in the high mountains of the southwest. Any additional tropical type rainfall could pose some quick problems in terms of rapidly rising streams and creeks. So keep an eye on that. Atlantic Basin nice and quiet for this weekend. No activity expected over the next couple of days or so. And I think you can see why. We have upper level winds streaming across the Caribbean Sea, and that's not going to allow for anything to develop. There really isn't any seedling out there to develop anyway. We don't have a pre-existing weather system. Yeah, there's a little bit of convection associated with an upper level system, maybe a surface trough in this region, just some upper level divergence. Again, another fancy way of saying there are some thunderstorms out over the Caribbean, but clearly these strong upper level winds coming across like this, that just precludes development. You have to have the wind very light in the upper atmosphere so that the clouds can go up and then fan out and not go all in one direction, like you can clearly see is happening right here. And of course off the southeast coast, down through the Gulf of Mexico, cloud free. So if you have any interests along the beach fronts of the United States this weekend, no worries whatsoever. A lot of people graduating high school, college is done for many. Head to the beach, have a good time without any worries from the tropics along the Gulf Coast, the Atlantic or the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, wherever the case may be. You're going to be just fine. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with Blanca in the Eastern Pacific. Keep track of it, of course, in Hurricane Pro and HD. Hey, real quick, little tidbit for you here this weekend, specifically tomorrow. I will be in Houston with our Hurricane Track Chevy Tahoe and a lot of the equipment that we use to gather information, data, and video during hurricanes, remotely operated camera systems and things like that. We're going to be at the George R. Brown Center in Houston for the Ready or Not Hurricane Workshop. And so if you're in the area, come on out tomorrow. It's free, and it is incredible. A well-done hurricane preparedness event for the family, for your business. It is really, really remarkable, the effort that they put into it, and I am honored to be a part of it. And then on Monday, we're going to be in Amarillo, Texas, test launching our hurricane research balloon payload via weather balloon that we're going to try to put into the eye of a hurricane someday. We test launch this every year, and this year it's going to be in Amarillo early Monday morning. So check out hurricanetrack.com for blog post information on all of that. Well, that is it from me for today. Again, I am Mark Sudduth for hurricanetrack.com and for Hurricane Pro and HD. I'll talk to you again on Monday.